All right, so let's dim the lights and maybe grab your trench coats because today we're stepping right into that shadowy world of film noir with
Yeah.
Laura
Like,
Otto Preminger's 1944 masterpiece.
yeah, a film that really embodies that genre's visual style, psychological tension you get, and morally ambiguous characters, oh, Laura,
Yeah.
has really captivated audiences for decades.
Oh, for sure.
And we're going to kind of unpack why.
Yeah, and we've got a stack of fascinating material for this one. We've got, let's see, Wikipedia deep dives. We've got Roger Ebert's glowing review.
Yeah.
So grab your fedoras, folks.
Yeah.
Because things are about to get really, really interesting.
Absolutely. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, I think let's set the stage.
Okay.
Laura centers around the supposed murder of its namesake, Laura Hunt.
Right.
A successful advertising executive in, that bustling world of 1940s New York City.
Right. And enter Detective Mark McPherson.
Yes.
This jaded detective with, a penchant for uncovering secrets. He is assigned to investigate her death.
Of course, but this is where it gets interesting.
It gets so good.
McPherson becomes increasingly fixated on Laura.
Yeah.
Even though she's, supposed to be dead, right?
Right.
The film uses these flashbacks, voiceovers, and shifting perspective so brilliantly.
Yeah.
And it just pulls the viewer deeper and deeper into this web of intrigue.
Well, and you're meeting all these different people.
Exactly.
Who, knew her and were involved in her life.
As McPherson interviews, her friends, acquaintances,
Right.
we're introduced to, as I said, this cast of characters that are anything but two-dimensional.
Right.
Let's take Waldo Lydecker, for instance,
Yeah.
who's played with just a delicious blend of acidity and elegance by Clifton Webb.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, just fantastic.
Speaking of Clifton Webb, I was reading that Preminger really had to fight to get him cast as Lydecker.
Oh, really?
The studio executives were not convinced.
Mm.
Something about Webb being a tad too flamboyant for the role.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Interesting. Thankfully, Preminger kind of stuck to his guns.
Yeah, good for him.
Because Webb's portrayal of this, acerbic, sophisticated columnist, a man so deeply enmeshed in Laura's life, is truly unforgettable.
It's such a good performance, yeah.
I think Lydecker's relationship with Laura, that blend of mentorship and possessiveness, is really one of the film's most fascinating elements.
Oh, absolutely.
Just this strange relationship.
There's definitely like an undercurrent of obsession there.
Oh, for sure.
Wouldn't you say?
Without a doubt.
Like this question of whether Lydecker's feelings for Laura were purely platonic or something more.
Right.
It's something that's been debated by film scholars for decades.
Absolutely. And I think Preminger masterfully leaves us guessing.
Yeah.
Playing with these little bits of subtext and suggestion.
Right.
He never lets us know for sure.
And adding to that complexity, some critics, at the time even, saw Gene Tierney's performance as Laura.
Yeah.
As being too understated.
Right.
Almost secondary.
I
thought that was interesting when I read that, like, Laura's purpose,
yeah,
in a way, is to be this blank slate onto which these men project their own desires and obsessions.
Yes, that's a really interesting take.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, let's talk about the other men in Laura's life.
Okay, so we also have Shelby Carpenter.
Right.
Played by a young Vincent Price.
Oh, wow.
In one of his early roles, which is
Oh, interesting.
quite a departure from the horror icon we know him as today.
Yeah, talk about range.
I mean, completely different.
So Shelby is presented as this charming but rather opportunistic younger man,
Yes.
seemingly more smitten with Laura's wealth and social standing than, anything else.
Yes, very much so. A stark contrast to Lydecker's more complex intellectual fascination.
Right, exactly.
And then there's Anne Treadwell.
Oh, yeah, she's something else.
Laura's aunt, right?
Yeah.
Who's caught in this rather transactional relationship with Shelby.
Yeah, and it's so interesting.
And she's, I don't know about you, but that chilling bathroom scene where she speaks so casually about her willingness to kill for her own gain.
Oh, my God.
I mean, sent shivers down my spine.
Judith Anderson is absolutely chilling in that scene.
Oh, isn't she?
You can you can practically feel the ice in her veins.
It's incredible. Her presence is just incredible in that.
Yeah, and the way Preminger uses those seemingly ordinary settings to create this tension.
Absolutely.
It's masterful.
It's so effective, yeah. And speaking of Preminger,
Yes.
did you know that he wasn't the original director attached to Laura?
Oh, really?
This is a whole other thing, yeah. Yeah, the behind-the-scenes drama of Laura is almost as captivating as the film itself.
Oh, it's juicy.
Ruben Mamoulian,
Okay.
a well-respected director in his own right,
Right.
was initially brought on board
Oh, wow.
to direct.
And from what I read, things got pretty heated
Oh, yeah.
between him and Preminger, who at the time was the producer.
Yeah, Preminger was the producer at the time.
Creative differences, shall we say.
To put it mildly,
Yeah.
the early footage that Mamoulian shot
Yeah.
just wasn't clicking.
Oh, interesting.
Preminger just had this very, very specific vision for the film.
Right.
A much more subtle, nuanced approach to the storytelling, to the characters.
Right. And Preminger being Preminger.
Exactly.
He was not afraid to go to bat for what he believed in.
Oh, absolutely not. No, he was very, very sure of himself.
Right.
And convinced the studio heads to let him take over as director.
Wow, what a power move.
Oh, yeah.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
I mean, truly. And I think we're all the better for it.
Oh, for sure.
Now, let's talk about that unforgettable score.
Oh, so good.
David Raxon's theme music
Yeah.
for Laura.
It's practically a character in its own right.
Oh, no, absolutely.
It's so haunting. It's so evocative of the film's mood and atmosphere.
It really is. It's so effective.
It just sucks you right in.
It does.
Did you know that it almost wasn't the film's main theme?
Oh, really?
Preminger was initially keen on using a pre-existing jazz piece.
Get out. Really?
Wow.
Wow.
Interesting.
Can you even imagine?
I'm racking my brain. What would it have been?
Right.
I don't know.
I read that he was really pushing for Duke Ellington's Sophisticated Lady.
Sophisticated Lady.
Which, I mean, fine piece of music, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah, a great piece of music.
But hardly the perfect fit for a film steeped in mystery and obsession.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. Not the perfect fit.
Talk about dodging a bullet.
Right.
So how did Raxon convince him to change his tune?
How did he bring him around?
Yeah.
Well, I read that he basically said, give me a weekend and I'll compose something even better.
Wow. Yeah.
How about that?
The pressure.
Talk about pressure.
Yeah.
And he delivered. Boy, did he deliver.
He sure did.
Under that immense pressure, Raxon just created this true masterpiece.
It's amazing.
A piece of music that so perfectly encapsulates the essence of Laura.
It really does.
And it went on to become a jazz standard covered by everyone from Frank Sinatra to Charlie Parker.
Everyone.
I mean,
it's incredible.
Talk about a legacy.
What a legacy.
Now, we've danced around it a bit, but we need to dive a little deeper, I think.
Yeah, let's do it.
Into what makes Laura such a quintessential film noir.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it really is it's a symphony of elements
right?
Working together to create this intoxicating atmosphere of suspense, the moral ambiguity, psychological tension, all of it just comes together.
Yeah, I mean, even just visually, the film is stunning.
Visually, oh my gosh, it's incredible.
That classic black and white cinematography.
Yes.
The dramatic use of light and shadow.
The shadows are incredible in it.
Those deep, inky blacks that just seem to, swallow everything whole.
They do.
It's that chiaroscuro lighting, right?
Exactly. That play of light and dark just creates this almost dreamlike quality, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like you're not sure what's real and what's not.
Right,
it's just it pulls you deeper into the film's world.
Exactly. It's a visual language, really, that speaks to the hidden depths of the characters, their motivations. It's all there.
It's all right there on the surface.
It is.
Even if you don't realize it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have those classic film noir themes, obsession, desire, the darker impulses that kind of lurk beneath the surface of human nature.
Yeah. And I mean, and you see that, Lydecker's fascination with Laura.
Of course.
McPherson becoming so consumed by this dead woman.
He's obsessed.
He's never even met.
Never met her.
Right.
And even Shelby's opportunistic pursuit of Laura's wealth. It all kind of speaks to these darker desires.
Yeah, it does, for sure.
And the narrative structure of Laura, really enhances those themes.
Oh, totally.
The flashbacks, the shifting points of view.
Yeah.
The way Preminger plays with time and memory.
It's like a puzzle.
It's all very, it adds to that sense of unease,
Right, exactly.
That feeling that nothing is quite what it seems.
Yeah, and that's what makes Laura, I think, such a perfect example of film noir.
Oh, for sure.
It's not just a genre defined by its visual style.
Yeah.
But also by its themes, its narrative techniques, like we were talking about.
It's about, it's going deeper, right?
Yeah.
It's about delving into the shadows of human nature, exploring those impulses and desires that we often kind of keep hidden.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about those dark places we don't always like to admit are there.
Right.
And Laura does all of this with incredible style.
Oh, so much style.
and sophistication.
It's so well done.
Oh, yeah.
It's really beautifully crafted, from the writing to the performances to everything.
The score.
The score.
Oh, my God.
Everything.
Speaking of which, remember those alternate endings?
Oh yeah, we touched on those.
We touched on those earlier.
Were ones that were considered but ultimately, rejected. Yeah, I mean, just imagine.
Oh, my gosh. How different the film would have been.
Like the one where Laura turns out to be the mastermind behind it all.
Right. Like, can you imagine?
The ultimate femme fatale.
Talk about a twist.
Oh my gosh.
It would have turned Laura from this object of fascination into, as you said, like a femme fatale of the highest order.
Right, exactly.
It's crazy.
It really makes you wonder why Preminger ultimately decided against it.
I know. I've thought about that a lot. I mean, maybe he felt it would have been too predictable.
Right.
Too much of a genre cliche.
Right, because you kind of see that sometimes.
You do. You see that in some of the, I guess, lesser film noirs, if you will.
Right, right.
So maybe he wanted to avoid that.
Right. Or maybe he felt it would have robbed the film of its ambiguity.
That's true. That's a good point.
That ability to linger in the mind long after the credits have rolled.
It really sticks with you.
And I do love how the ending we got with Lydecker clinging to his delusion. Oh, so good.
His final words echoing through that empty apartment.
Haunting. So haunting.
It leaves us with so many questions.
It does.
It's like the mystery of Laura extends beyond the frame of the film itself.
It really does. And I think that's the mark of a truly great film noir, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure.
It stays with you, it haunts you, it makes you question everything you thought you knew.
Yeah, and Laura does that in spades.
It does.
So for our listeners, they've now had this deep dive into Laura.
Hopefully they're intrigued.
Wow.
They're going to go watch it or rewatch it.
What would you say is like the key takeaway? What's that one lingering thought?
Okay, so the one lingering thought
Yeah.
from Laura that I want our listeners to take with them is that I think beneath the surface of sophistication and glamour, beneath that polished facade we present to the world, lies this labyrinth of desire, obsession, these hidden truths, Yeah. And it's Laura is a film that I think invites us to look closer, to question everything, and to kind of embrace the mystery within ourselves and those around us.
That is beautifully put.
Thank you.
Laura is not just a film you watch.
It's an experience.
It's a film you experience.
Yes.
So if you haven't already, I mean, what are you doing? Go dim the lights, pour yourself a stiff drink.
Get a nice glass of something.
Settle in.
Yeah, get cozy.
And get ready to be captivated by the timeless allure of Laura. Trust me.
Trust us.
You will not be disappointed.
You won't be.